in Ho Chi Minh City, that he had hoped maybe someday people would be able to identify the photographs. And I was watching other people walk through the exhibit, and they were not connecting with the images in that way. And then nothing for them, and it's not the docent's fault. Maybe they weren't given any training, but the docents told me, they didn't realize I was co-curator, they said, well, these are kind of images from Japan. And I was like, oh no. On the basis that there's Chinese script, and not knowing the history that, there's Chinese people of Chinese ethnic descent, which is partially my family. So watching my parents kind of walk through and then start to identify the school uniforms and the landmarks and so on. So those photos were resonating and it was speaking to their generation, and there was no recognition for me as kind of this second 1.5 generation. Those photographs were not connecting that way, except as a person who thinks a lot about photography, I was interested in kind of the photographic encounter in those moments. And later on I asked them, so, what was your connection with the photos? And they said they were looking to see if they recognized anyone in the images. So I said, well, did you see anyone? They said, no, I didn't see any, or they said they didn't see anybody, but that didn't make them sad, because if they saw someone in the photo, that meant they would be dead. I don't know why they came to that conclusion. But the flip side of it is that I did go to those same vintage stores, and I went looking for images that would have been discarded by the diaspora because of, I kind of alluded to that because people in the album wore the wrong uniform and would thus have been targeted for re-education in the way that other presenters talked about. And so I was very fortunate that the people in the stores knew that I was looking for this. And so they found a military academy album and put it aside for me. And it was a military academy that is the Tuduk military academy that basically had been started by the French to train colonial soldiers and eventually train South Vietnamese folks. And this album, as it turns out, featured a member of the secret police in Saigon, right? So you can see why they would have been disappeared. So my parents went through that album with me. And it was because of them and their particular kind of connection that they knew what Tuduk meant. Speak of trauma, my father just completely broke down going through the album. So that's the kind of intergeneration thing that was happening because of kind of his effective attachment to these images. So for me, I write about it, that album, in a different part of the book as enacting a kind of a queer digital kinship. But it was interesting how kind of our particular familial relationship gets played out through attempting to historicize, to return kind of this orphan object to kind of a history.
This is a question for Melissa, but I think everyone can also chime in. In today's presentation, it kind of seemed like there were two kind of temporalities that work was being made from, or being discussed from. One is being the immediate years of the war, at least the American involvement of the war, and the second being kind of work being produced right now, enough recently by, you could say, maybe first generation diaspora from the war, like Pion, T, and their kind of reflections on the moment of the war. But I'm wondering, Melissa, in your research, if you came across any Western production of knowledge or of artistic work in the immediate aftermath of the American involvement in the war that's related to the war.
Yeah, I mean, the cutoff of 1975